All right, good morning. Welcome in on a beautiful July 1st, new month, same World Cup, same Wimbledon, same glorious sports. NBA free agency's kicked off. Well, I don't even know where we should start. There's so much good to get to, but I think the only place we can start is with your Mexico and the game they played last night and get into the World Cup. After the World Cup, we'll talk some NBA free agency. We'll talk some trades, some big news: LeBron, Kawhi, John Morant, tons of breaking news transactions. Then we will finish with some Wimbledon talk because it's the greatest tennis tournament in the world. We got to talk about it. So, Fernando, I'll give you the floor before we even get into anything. How'd you feel about Mexico last night? I told you there's nothing to worry about, but I want to hear what it was like watching that game and how you feel about that performance and how much confidence that gives you going forward.
Well, George, first off, thank you for having me on again. But that last night was one of the best nights in Mexican history. I mean, we had so much on st- on the line. We hadn't won a knockout game in 40 years. We were playing a good Ecuador team who was coming off a great win against Germany. We might have won we might have gone undefeated in the group stage, but they were not impressive wins. And last night they put it all together. The first half was one of the best halves Mexico has ever played in their history. I mean, they dictated play. They went on the attack. I mean, everything about the first half was just perfect. And I have to give Javier Aguirre his flowers for starting Gilberto Mora. That kid, 17 years old, playing in a knockout game, starting for your country in front of the Azteca, one of the most historic venues in all soccer. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better performance from him. He dictated play. He let the midfield go. He didn't get panic. He'd always calmed down. He always made sure he found the space to give it to Jimenez, Quinones. He always he didn't let Caicedo. He didn't let everyone the midfield Ecuador to settle in. I mean, it was just a great performance by Gilberto Mora. Amazing. Jimenez, amazing. Quinones, I mean, this guy is a Colombian, and I mean, he's now a Mexican player. I mean, best signing Mexico could have ever done. I mean, Quinones is a superstar in the making, and I mean, it was just great to watch. We should all be happy about what we saw. I mean, Ecuador was no joke. They have Paicedo, they have William Pacho, they have great players on that team, and we just made them look absolutely lost in that game. It was just beautiful to watch. I mean, and you have to, I can't believe I'm saying this, but as a Mexican fan, I believe. I mean, I didn't believe at all, but yesterday you guys gave me hope. I mean, you beat a great Ecuador team who was a dark horse heading into this tournament. And I mean, now we get to the winner of England or Congo, and you could and they will now have the advantage of the altitude, the home field advantage. They will have everything in their hands. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better performance. They have so much momentum heading into the round 16. And I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Congo and England. But if you're a Mexico fan today, you should be very happy and full of confidence.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Mexico game last night was it was a statement. It was a culture shifter. I agree. I think one of the greatest nights in Mexican team history. It was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Raul Jimenez and Quinones to get Mexico off on the right foot, get them a lead, get them a cushion. You always talk about one goal, bro. It's very easy to give that up. But when you have a two-goal lead, especially in the first half, right? It gives you it gives you some freedom to play with, right? It takes the pressure off you. The fans are with you. It's loud. You could get the fans involved early, and everything after that went their way. And then it's cruise control for the rest of the game. And Ecuador just never felt like they could get enough footing into the game, and where it even looked like they had a chance to win. And yeah, I mean, just I'm super impressed with Mexico. I think the question going forward is obviously they're going to play the winner of England and Congo. You're expecting England. England has looked relatively soft this tournament. They've had some rather poor showings. My bigger question is, can Mexico win a game against England and then follow that up by winning a game against Brazil or Norway? I think that's going to be the question because now you're asking for three great performances, and that would get them to the semifinals where, again, bottom half of this bracket is super soft. You're expecting Argentina to get through there because no one else really has a chance, maybe Colombia, but you're expecting Argentina. So again, I think Mexico has a good shot here to beat. If it's England, to beat England, then you're probably going to get Brazil. Brazil, it might be Norway. Again, Norway's sort of a dark horse. People are watching. They just beat another dark horse in Ivory Coast. But I think Mexico has a path. They have a path. The Simpsons predicted it, and right now the Simpsons have been right so far. And you have to believe that people, if they beat England, then the steam behind this Mexico train heading in to the quarterfinals is going to be loud. It's gonna be a ton of people behind them, and you got to believe that they're going to have a chance to make it to at least the semis and have a matchup with a team like Argentina. So yeah, I think as a listen, you are a huge Mexico fan. I agree with you. You should have hope because I think the path is there. I think the path is there. They have to perform at a high level. But what's a success at this point? Now having beaten Ecuador in the round of 32, what does success look like for Mexico in this tournament? If they lose their next game against an England, a tournament favorite, would that be a disappointing result? Or now that they beat Ecuador and they've gotten themselves to the round of 16, something Mexico has not done, is this success?
If they lose to England, no, it's not success because it's always the goal for Mexico has always been quarterfinals or bust. And we've never been to a quarterfinal. And we've always talked
Yeah,
about getting to that famous quinto juego.
yeah,
And yes, we could say we got to the El Quinto Juego by beating Ecuador, but technically that's not El Quinto Juego because the World Cup expanded. We now have to win 8 games, so that
yeah,
technically doesn't count for me. So
yeah,
Mexico has to go all out to beat England or Congo, whoever it is, but it's probably going to be England. But for me, success is getting to the quarterfinals because we've never done it in our history. And I mean, it would be such a huge success to beat a great England team because England is a really good team. They have Harry Kane, they have Jude
yeah,
Bellingham, they have they
yeah,
have so many stars on that team. I mean, real well organized, great coach. So I
yeah,
mean, you cannot if you beat England, that's already and you get to the quarterfinals, that's already a success. And whatever happens from the
yeah.
quarterfinals on is just going to be adding more success to the national team. So as long as we get through England or Congo, success is done.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. I think Mexico at this point has to be thrilled with where they are, but I agree. I think getting to the quarterfinals would be a very nice result in a tournament like this where it's bigger, a lot of great teams involved. If you can get to the quarterfinals, be one of those last eight standing, I think that's a huge, huge success. One team who's not going to be there is Germany, after falling to Paraguay in penalties. In penalties, they dropped a game to Ecuador on the group stage and followed that up by losing to Paraguay. What are the right things to say about this Germany team? And they won the World Cup way back. It feels like an eternity ago, right? Back in 2014. And now they just keep falling short. What did you take away from that game? Obviously, we're not expecting Paraguay to be France, but what's wrong with Germany right now? What's wrong with this era of German soccer?
They don't have an identity. I mean, against Paraguay, they did not play well at all. I mean, they went down 1-0. They got back into the game, and then we all thought a Germany team that has an identity would have gone and scored a second goal after Kai
Yeah,
Havertz scored that header. That team did not have an identity. They couldn't score another goal. I think there was a goal by Jonathan Todd that, in my opinion, was very controversial. I think that should have been a goal, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But this team had no identity. And then in penalty shootout, did you hear it? Like nobody wanted to take a penalty. Kimmich was begging Goretzka to take a penalty, and he said no twice. Nobody wanted to step up, and the only one who said I'll take it is Jonathan Tah, and he missed, and he had never taken a penalty in his in his professional career. So this is the thing. Like, there's no identity, there's no leadership. Julian Nagelsmann, I think, should be sacked because it's credible that you don't have a leader in that team who's willing to rally the team. That falls all on the coach. And I feel bad for Jonathan Tom because at the end of the day, he got a goal robbed. He was the only one willing to step up to take a penalty, even though he had never
yeah,
taken one. So
yeah.
this Germany team has a lot to answer. They need new leadership. They need new identity. They need a lot of stuff because I don't think we can take Germany seriously anymore for a long, long time.
Yeah, you cannot put this loss on Jonathan Tah. You can't do it because he had a goal. In my opinion, it should have stood. Look, I understand you're in the goalie's
I
way,
agree.
but
I agree.
again, it's one of those things where he's not grabbing the goalie. The goalie is just as much in his face, and it's not like he's doing anything to impede it. He's just standing in the same spot. So I agree. I think Germany should have won that game because that should have been a goal. But the
Can I say
reality
something
is, like,
quickly?
yeah, go ahead.
And this is what bothers me a lot. with Arsenal, they did that a lot. And I mean a lot in their games. And it was
Yep.
called less than 30% of the time. So why are you calling it in the World Cup game, but in the Premier League, you're not calling it? That's not fair to me. That's why I'm very pissed off that they took away the goal.
Yeah, no, I listen. I agree. I think it's a mistake, and this is the reality, right? Now, you talk about how guys didn't want to take penalties. What does that say about your team's mental toughness, right? What does that say about your culture? You know, like you can't. How could you be afraid of the moment? You're at the World Cup. You're against a team that you should be beating, and you're gonna stand there and reject to take a penalty. In my head, I can't even comprehend that. And you have a guy who's never taken a penalty at the professional level, taking the most important penalty of the World Cup for your squad. That falls on everybody else, not him. That falls on everybody else who could have taken one, who should have taken one before him. That's just my opinion. That's a huge, huge mistake, and that's coaching. I don't care if you say you're not taking a penalty. If I'm the coach, you need to take this penalty. You are a penalty taker. Jonathan Tah is not. He will not be taking this penalty. I don't care if you're afraid. Grow up and go take the penalty. That is inexcusable. And if I'm a German fan, he should be sacked today because that is terrible coaching. That's terrible coaching. And the fact that your players are afraid of the moment shows that there was no mental toughness. The coach didn't prepare them the right way and that they were scared. They were scared, and that is a huge that it cannot be the reason you go home in the World Cup because you're afraid. That can't be the reason, and that's ultimately why they went home. So I'm extremely disappointed in Germany. And before the tournament, I didn't think they were going to win it. I thought they would be a quarterfinal team, maybe a semifinal team if things went the right way with the draw. But this is a massive disappointment. And you're right, the identity of Germany soccer is gone. They used to be one of those teams that you watched and you said, "Man, like, I don't want to play them, right? When they beat Brazil 7-1, you watch the game, you're like, this is a well-oiled machine. Like, these guys play the game the right way. They're tough. They tactically they're great. They're gonna break you down. They're great on the attack. They're stout on the defensive end. Like, this is not Germany anymore. This is a different Germany. It's a worse Germany, and they got to find a coach. I saw that Klopp might take would like the job possibly. I'm not sure if they're gonna go down that route, but yeah, extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. And again, they're not the only team who's one of the call them one of the top 8, top 5 teams in the world to go home. Netherlands went home, right? They played Morocco. They went to pens. What were I mean? You watched the penalty shootout. What were your thoughts on that penalty shootout? I mean, again, you had to think that it was going to be a low scoring game because Morocco is very stout defensively for the most part. I know their game at Haiti, they went down twice, but they probably took that a little light. This game was great. Morocco had the lead. Netherlands had the lead. Then Morocco scores late to get it drawn, and then go to
Mhm.
penalties. What were your thoughts on the game as a whole, and just on the penalty shootout? Like, how awful was that shootout?
As for first off about the game, that was even though
Yeah.
it was a low scoring game. That was one of the best soccer games I've ever seen in a long
Oh, for
time. I mean,
sure, for
both
sure.
teams played fantastic soccer. I mean, dictating play, going on the attack to score
Yeah.
opportunities. Goalies played amazing. The defenses were all over the place. Midfielder was great. Attack was perfect. Like everything about that game was absolutely beautiful. Like both teams
Yeah.
played amazing. They did not make any mistakes. Like both goals were great. I mean everything was about it was great, and also like the goalkeeper, they made amazing saves, especially the Netherlands goalkeeper. Like, if it wasn't
Yeah.
for the Netherlands goalkeeper, we would have never had a penalty shootout. I mean, the Netherlands goalkeeper just raised his value by a lot in that game. As for the
Yeah.
penalty shootout, I mean, like you have to give a lot of credit to both goalies. I mean, they were ready for the moment. Bono knows how to get it done. I mean, in 2022 World Cup, he saved all Spain's penalties, and I mean, penalties, and I feel bad for the Netherlands goalkeeper on one of the penalties. I mean, he saves it, and then on accidentally it hits his foot, and it goes into the goal. Into
Yeah.
the goal. I mean, that's just brutal. But I mean, this was the perfect game to go to penalty shoot. I think this was the game that was destined to go to penalties because both teams were both equally as good.
Yeah.
Both played great, and I mean, penalties could have been better. Hakimi very unfortunate to hit the post,
Well,
but
yeah. Yeah.
great game. And I think Morocco deserved to go through because they were the more tougher team. And I feel like the Netherlands gave them too much respect. I think the Netherlands should have been more aggressive, but Morocco played really well and they deserved to go through.
Look, I thought that Morocco was going to go through. I thought it was going to go to penalties. To be honest with you, I thought it was going to be a close game. But the one thing to me that's inexcusable is not putting the ball on frame. and there were several guys in that game. Well, number one, they hit the post, but like on frame, as in keep it within the post and not on target. Right? You should never be missing a goal in a penalty shootout. Like, and to me, as a coach, like that's something you have to work on before coming to these tournaments. How many times do teams like this go home? Netherlands just went home last World Cup against Argentina because they lost on a penalty shootout. So now Netherlands hasn't lost the game in regulation or in open play in the last two World Cups, and somehow they've gone home early both World Cups. So inexcusable that they're not working. Why on earth are you not drilling into your players' minds that the ball needs to be kept on frame? Because the only way you're going to miss a penalty 100% is if you shoot it off frame. Look at the one that Morocco scored. It hit the goalie. It hit his leg and went in. Why? Because it was on frame. So to me, it's mind-boggling that you could have guys step up to take a penalty and miss it 5 feet wide or 5 feet high. I honestly don't have words to be able to express how frustrating that is. And you know, I coach middle school soccer. I told my players, if you're taking a penalty, keep it on frame. Keep it on frame. I don't care where on frame. Put it on frame because only good things can happen when you put it on frame. If you put it off frame, you give yourself 0% chance.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, and I think that's one of the things I admire about Ronaldo when he takes penalties. He shoots the
Thank
ball
you.
very, 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 very hard, no matter on
Yep.
frame, no matter what, and just
Yep.
hopes that it goes in because that's what penalties should be about: going on frame and
Yep.
hitting it as freaking hard as possible. Because you never know. Even the goalie could guess right, but because it's going with a lot of pace and speed, the goalie can't save it. So the point about penalties is just hitting it as hard as possible on frame. That's the whole thing. That's the entire mindset about penalties. And like that's what I think Morocco should have done, Netherlands should have done, and I think also too. I think
Yeah.
sometimes the pressure gets to these players because I can tell you right now, it's not easy to take a penalty in a World Cup. In a World Cup, it is really a lot of pressure. I mean, to have the mind, to have the mental strength to be able to take a penalty and score it in a huge moment. Huge props to those players who do it because it's a lot of pressure.
No, I agree. There's a ton of pressure, but I think in that moment, you know, you got to have people around you who say, "Listen, like keep it on frame." Just a reminder, keep it on frame. Like whatever you do, keep the ball on frame. And I always tell, I was coaching, and I still tell people now, penalties come down to two things: it's power or precision. The best penalty takers do both. They have power and they have precision, right? A guy like Ronaldo has almost always opted for power, right? He'll blast it as hard as he can, keep it on frame, and a lot of the time, even if the goalie gets a hand on it, he can't save it. He hit it too hard. Some other guys, Messi, most notably in my mind at least, Messi's a lot of precision, right?
Correct.
Messi still play a little bit of mind games and pick a spot, and even the last World Cup, he rolled it in, right? Like it's very calm, it's precision, right? He picks a spot and he puts it. The best penalty takers are power and precision, right? You hit it as hard as you can, and then you pick a spot like the corner, or if you go top bins and penalties, it's almost impossible to save unless you're the Moroccan keeper who stands up and moves that weird way like a
Mm.
crab across the net. But whatever. I mean, to be fair, it works. But again, the ball has to be kept free. And to me, that's a horrible way to lose, especially for Netherlands. It's got to be heartbreaking. Two back-to-back World Cups, you're going home on pens, and that like it just doesn't sit right with me. And if I was a manager, I know he stepped down. I don't think it's his fault, but man, it's a terrible way to lose. It's a terrible way to lose.
I do think a lot of this is on the coaching because I do
I mean,
think
it's
he
part,
gave too
but
much
I don't know.
respect to the Morocco team. That's not a Netherlands team that plays very passive and doesn't play very aggressive. I think some of this does fall on Ronald Koeman. And this is the thing we've learned in this World Cup. This is why it's very important to practice penalties and training because you never know what's going to happen. And it's going to determine whether you're going home or you're going to the
Yep.
next round. So and this is why it bothers me that Germany didn't like they were scared of the moment because you need to practice penalties in training ahead of the knockout round because you never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's got to be something that's drilled into your brain before you step onto the field and get into a real situation. Like you need to be simulating this stuff in practice. And look, I know it's nothing like game situation in terms of the pressure, but again, it's a penalty, right? It's close to that. You're expected to make those shots, right? The goalie's not expected to make those saves. Those are supposed to be made. So I just find it completely inexcusable that teams are just showing up and they look unprepared. Some other results: Brazil beat Japan. They were down 1-0, but Brazil stuck it out. Neymar didn't play, but they hung in there, and they're going to face Norway, who ended up beating Ivory Coast, which was a really good game. Holland somehow got a glorious tap in. That's what even what he it and they get to move on. They'll play Brazil. That'll be a great game. I want to talk about Kylian Mbappe because Fernando, I'm running out of words. I'm running out of words to describe his play at the World Cup and at the international level. I believe the stat is 18 matches, 18 goals. I believe that's the correct stat.
That is correct.
There's just no words to describe how good he is when he gets to this stage. You're talking about obviously the greatest tournament in the world. You're talking about the biggest stage of soccer. And look, let's just be realistic here. There's a reason only 8 teams have ever won the World Cup. It's because you have to have a good team around you to win. Right? There's a reason other countries haven't won it. It's always the bigger teams with football heritage that wins. It's just the truth. So he has a great team around him with Olise and Dembele. They set him up. Good. Rabiot has been playing great. But how do you describe Kylian Mbappe to soccer fans, to people who want to understand what he does at this stage? Because even a guy like Messi, yeah, 19 goals, but he's played what 30 some matches at the World Cup. Like Mbappe's gonna be the all-time goal scoring leader at the World Cup. That's guaranteed. I don't know if the record will ever be broken at this point if he continues his pace. He's gonna play in at least 2 or 3 more World Cups. So is it crazy to say right now that he's the greatest World Cup player ever? And what has he shown you in this tournament and just throughout his World Cup career?
I mean, it's kind of a little crazy right now that we're calling Mbappe at 26 years old one of the greatest World Cup players ever. I mean, you said it yourself. He still has probably two, at best, three World Cups left, one more in his prime. And I mean, what he's doing is nothing short of amazing. I mean, 18 goals in 18 appearances. That is just amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
you're telling me he's scoring a goal every single appearance he's made on that field in the biggest stage in soccer. You're telling me that that guy shows up every time when the moment matters. It's nothing short of amazing. I mean, he from the teenager he stepped on the field in the 2018 World Cup to today. He's always shown up. Not the moment doesn't get to him. It's just amazing. And I mean, he's just a different
yeah,
player on the French team than he is on the club team. I mean, I said it. We talked about this last week. When he plays on France, he plays more with freedom. He plays more loose. I mean, he's got the team around him. Like they
yep,
play for Mbappe. It doesn't. I don't
yeah,
understand why it doesn't happen in club level, but it is. It doesn't matter. I mean, this team plays for Mbappe. They know their roles. They know their tactics. Didier Deschamps deserves a lot of credit because he set that system for the players. They now know their roles, and this team is vibing. I mean, they've been absolutely destroying every single team in the World Cup. I mean, other than the first half against Senegal, this team has looked nothing short of amazing. I mean, you can even say that the tier right now is France and everyone else is right here because that's how good France has been.
yep.
And I mean, right now, like other than Argentina and maybe Spain, like who's gonna be in their way to winning this World Cup? It's hard to decide who could stand in their way. I mean, at least saying like he's the guy in Bayern Munich. He scores goals, but right here he knows his role. It's not to score goals. It's to be a
Yeah.
distributor to assist goals. And he's been the I think in my we can all the flowers go to Mbappe for scoring goals, but I think
Olise's been great.
the Elise deserves all the credit in the world for what he's doing
Yeah,
for this team. I mean,
yeah,
this guy would on another national team, he would be the scorer, he would be doing everything. But on this French team, he knows his role. He is being the distributor, and everyone's benefiting from it. Mbappe, Barcola, everybody on the attack is benefiting from it. And I mean, he's leading the World Cup in assists with five. I mean, if it wasn't for Elise, Mbappe wouldn't be playing as well. He wouldn't have the
yeah,
goals. Dembele
for
was the
sure,
same thing. I mean, like
for sure.
while we can talk about Dembele and Mbappe, I think all the credit goes to Olise because he's made this French team look so dangerous and amazing. And I mean, Mbappe and the chemistry that the attack has is just incredible. I mean, this French team is incredible. They're probably going to blow out Paraguay, and Mbappe. I'm telling you right now, Mbappe is going to be the best international player to ever play because he is that good on the French team.
Just listen to these stats real quick. 2018 World Cup was his first one. He became only the second teenager to score in a World Cup final, that World Cup. Obviously, when France won the World Cup, and he already has a World Cup under his belt. He scored a goal against Argentina in the round of 16. He scored a goal in the final against Croatia. He scored 4 goals that tournament. In 2022, he scored 8 goals. He scored a hat trick in the final, and just absolutely carried France in a game where no one else was really playing well. And they honestly, France could have won that game if they had made some shots they were supposed to make. But they didn't end up winning, but he took home the gold too. And now this tournament, he has 6 goals already. And he's probably going to play at least 2 or 3 more games minimum, as long as France does what they're supposed to do. So, like you said, I don't think it's crazy to say at all that he's the greatest international player ever. I don't think that's crazy to say. And look, again, he comes from a country with good heritage. Again, all these teams who are successful at the World Cup, it's Argentina's, Brazil's, France, England, not recently, but usually. These countries won the World Cup before, and they have this football heritage. It just seems to work out for them better, and I think that's a major reason as to why 8 countries have only ever won the World Cup. Again, Mbappe, just phenomenal, phenomenal. And you're right. I think if you're talking about the attack with Olise and Dembele and Mbappe, right now in current form, they're 3 of the top 6 players probably in the tournament, and you're talking about all in the same attack. So it's I don't understand how anyone's gonna stop that. It doesn't matter who it is. France right now looks like the best team. They look like the best team. They're gelling together well, and they're playing their best soccer at the right time. And I think that's going to end up panning out really well for them. Look, I think they might run into some trouble with Morocco. I think Morocco will beat Canada. I think France beats Paraguay. So then you have to play them in the quarters. And Morocco is a good team. They are a good team. And I think if Morocco's goal in that game is going to be get it to penalties. Let's get this game to penalties because anything can happen. And obviously, Morocco's goaltender has been absolutely phenomenal in penalties. So they want to get to penalties in that game. And I think Morocco, if anyone's going to upset them, it's going to be the perennial underdog of Morocco. And I think Morocco has a shot. But I think France is the favorite here to go all the way and win it. They just have been way too good. Looking forward to upcoming games. England obviously plays Congo today. We're expecting that they'll take care of business. Um, again, I think England needs to have a good performance today. They haven't looked that great in their last couple games, and I'm expecting them to come out. What about the USA? They're playing Bosnia today. Are you expecting the US to come out, make a statement, and take care of it?
I do. I do. I think the USA knows will have home has home field advantage. They have the
Yeah,
crowd in their favor, and I mean Bosnia is not that good of a team. I mean they did get through. Props to them, but the USA is the better team. They've had
yeah,
the, they. I can tell you right now that that loss against Turkey is going to be a huge motivating factor for them. They're going to play
yeah,
much better. And
yeah,
I mean, they have to do what they did in the first 2 games against Paraguay and Australia. You have to set the tone. You have to start fast. That's what's been working for the USA so well. And I mean, they almost pretty much did it against Turkey too with a beat with their second team. So that's the
yeah,
key against Bosnia. Get off to a fast start. Set the
yeah,
tone. Dictate play. Like just get off. Just if you do that, you're probably going to score against Bosnia, and Bosnia's going to have to go score a goal. It's going to open space. It's going to open play. It's going to allow the USA to go on a counter. Pulisic's finally healthy. It sounds like he's going to start today. So
yeah,
I think the USA takes care of business, but it's very crucial that they do what they did in the first 2 games. Get off to a fast start. You do that,
yep.
you're going to have the crowd against in your favor. You're going to put
Yeah.
Bosnia on their heels. You're going to make them open space, and you're going to make them vulnerable on the counter.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a physical game. I think it's gonna be highly competitive. I don't think Bosnia is just gonna roll over and say, "Hey, we don't have any chance to win this game." I think Bosnia is gonna compete, and if the U.S. doesn't show up, it's gonna be close. But I do think the U.S. will take care of business in advance. The other game, I think, is gonna be an upset. I think Senegal will beat Belgium. I think Senegal has looked better. Yeah, they were in a tough group, and it was unfortunate for them. Like to play England and Norway, that's not easy in your group, and they got through. And Belgium, quite frankly, has not looked that great. Yeah, their last group stage game, they beat up on a bad team, and they did this, but and they won their group. But I think Senegal wins it. Do you agree with that? Do you think Senegal has a really good chance of upsetting Belgium today?
I do. I completely agree with that take, George. I mean,
Yeah,
Senegal was in a brutal group. They had to play France, who
for
is
sure.
right now the favorite to win this tournament. They had to play Norway, who's a dark horse in this tournament. The only team they had to play was Iraq, and they did what good teams do. They beat up on bad teams. They absolutely destroyed them 5-0. Did enough to get through due to the goal difference. So Senegal is a good team. They play well against the good teams and they beat up on the bad teams. So Senegal is a good team. Let me make that clear. They're the AFCON champs for a reason.
Yeah.
They have stars like Mane, they have Koulibaly, they have Nicholas Jackson, they have Sarr, they have great players on this team. And
Yeah.
Belgium, they might have won the group, but it was not an impressive showing in the group stage. They tied
No.
against Egypt on an own goal. They tied 0 against Iran and got a red card. Had to play the last 15 minutes with 10 men, and they beat up
Yeah.
on a New Zealand team that, in my opinion, was a very, very poor New Zealand team. I honestly don't
Yeah.
have a lot of confidence in Belgium. I have more confidence in Senegal, and I think this will be the second upset we see in this group in this knockout stage.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right. Moving on to the NBA. Tons of free agency news. I actually have breaking news here. It recently happened within the last hour. Norman Powell agrees to a 2-year, $45 million deal to go to the Chicago Bulls. So the Miami Heat will not have Norman Powell returning. He will be heading to Chicago. Um, Sixers signed Ariel Hukporty from the Knicks. Woo! What a great signing! I'm so excited.
Who's-
But focusing on the bigger news and not the sorry 76ers. Even though they signed Dean Wade, I don't know if you saw that 4-year, 39 million. He's okay. I would have preferred John Collins, but he's heading to Detroit. The bigger news is we'll start with Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard, the Toronto man, winning a championship for the Toronto Raptors, arguably the most beloved player in Raptors history. Not because of his personality, but because of what he's done for their franchise. He's a fun guy, even though I don't think he is. But anyways, he goes back. I think he should have stayed all of this time and avoided this whole stint with the Clippers. He should have signed an extension with the Raptors, and who knows what history would have looked like. But ignoring all of that, he heads back to Toronto to play with Scotty Barnes, to play with Jakob Poeltl, to play with RJ Barrett, to play with Emmanuel Quickly. They have a team. The Raptors have a team. And the last time they had a team with Kawhi Leonard as their centerpiece, they went all the way. They won a championship. Obviously, it took some luck with the quadruple doink against the Sixers. Still breaks my heart. But what are your thoughts on the Kawhi deal? Obviously, the Raptors gave up Brandon Ingram, some picks. Obviously a hefty haul for Kawhi Leonard. It makes sense, but again, he has to stay healthy. So, what are your expectations and thoughts on this deal, and where does this put the Raptors in the Eastern Conference?
This is a bold, bold take, but I don't think this was a good trade for the Raptors. The
Wow.
Raptors had a good thing going with their rebuild. They exceeded expectations. They made the playoffs. They took the Cavaliers to 7 games. They had a good thing going. Brandon Ingram was playing well, and quickly, like the team was gelling. I mean, it was going well, and I think now you ruined. And I honestly think now you ruined the good chemistry on this team. Let me make it clear. I'm not saying Kawhi Leonard is not a good player. He's a superstar. He's a great player. He's won 2 championships.
Yeah.
At Finals MVP. He has all the accolades. Great player. But you are risking too much on a guy who struggled to stay healthy in the last in during his time with the Clippers. You're betting on a lot on him to stay healthy. And
Yeah.
and you're trading for a guy, and you're trading a lot of your young nucleus for a guy who's not getting any younger. Kawhi Leonard is in his 30s. He is not getting
Or
younger.
healthier.
He or healthier. And I mean, I've you traded a lot. You gave picks. You gave Brandon Ingram, who's in my opinion a really great player. I honestly think the Clippers did a great job getting rid of him. I think there was a lot of toxicity in that team with him there, a lot of problems. I think the Clippers did the right thing getting rid of him. I think it was time for them to move on from him. But I think the Raptors are risking a lot on him. He won a championship. I get it. He is Kawhi Leonard, but there's too many question marks for Kawhi Leonard right now to say that this was a good trade for the Raptors. I mean, you're asking for a
Yeah.
lot on him, and
Yeah.
you don't know how it's gonna work. I think it's a lot. They're risking a lot.
Look, I think for the Raptors, it's a matter of can we win a championship with the core we had, and I think the answer is no. I think they're missing a 1A, right? Who's your number one guy on that team? And if you looked at it, Brandon Ingram is a good basketball player. I'd say he's a 2 or 3. Scotty Barnes, good basketball player, all star. He's a 2 or 3. They didn't have an alpha. And I think Kawhi Leonard gives you that alpha. Now, you're talking about a guy who has not played that many games. He's last year, obviously, I think he finished 7th in MVP voting. So he qualified, he played well, he played enough games. Great. That's one season. Now, can he do it again this year? And I think it raises the ceiling for the Raptors. If you're talking about what was their ceiling before Kawhi and now after getting Kawhi Leonard, their ceiling raises. I think you're talking about a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference if everyone stays healthy. And Kawhi Leonard, quite frankly, in the playoffs is a different beast. And we've seen that before, right? He's able to carry a load if he's healthy and get a team to the finals and win a finals ultimately. Obviously, the Warriors were injured, but he still won a championship for Toronto. So, look, I think it's a lot to give up for Kawhi. It's one of those Hail Marys in terms of is he going to stay healthy? You give up a lot of young pieces, you give up draft picks. But I like it. I like the move because you know what? It re-energizes a fan base, right? Kawhi Leonard is beloved in Toronto, right? Like that is his city, right? I know he didn't want to stay there and he didn't want to live in Canada, but now I guess he changed his mind. He's all about going up north. Like that gives him a reason to be excited, and it gives him a chance to compete for a championship. And again, Kawhi Leonard, I don't think I can name 3 or 4 better playoff performers than him when he's healthy in his career and the playoffs. So look, is it a lot to give up? Yeah, but I like the move. I like the move for the Raptors. I think do I maybe I wouldn't have given up as many picks. Maybe I would have taken off picks on it. Maybe the pick swap in a second rounder. But that's I guess that's just all. It's done. What's done is done. So now you have Kawhi. You got to build around him, and I think they have a realistic chance of competing.
This is the thing. I do understand your argument that he is
Yeah,
Kawhi Leonard is very beloved in Toronto. I get it.
yeah,
He's done a lot for that city. He's won a championship and everything, but he's not that the same Kawhi Leonard that won that championship with the Raptors. I mean, like I said before, he's getting older. His
yeah,
tenure with the Clippers didn't go well at all. It went horribly. They never won a championship, so it was a complete failure for the Clippers. And the thing for me is like you're betting on a guy who hasn't been healthy in a long, long time. And I get it. The Raptors had a good thing going, and I do think you had the pieces to go trade for a superstar. But did it really have to be Kawhi Leonard? I think you could
but
have
I
gone
agree.
get a guy. Did you have to?
Yeah,
Why could you trade all that to go get a Giannis Antetokounmpo, a another
yeah,
superstar? Like why did you have to
yeah,
give all that up to Kawhi Leonard, who is a guy who hasn't been healthy
yeah,
that much in a long, long time? So
yeah,
I do think it's a lot of risk. And I mean, we said this when he was traded from the Spurs to the Raptors. A lot of people questioned the Raptors for giving up a lot to go get Kawhi Leonard from the Spurs. And look what happened in 1 year. They won a championship. So it's a risk reward. It's again a risk reward trade. So we'll see what happens. But I do. You're right. They finally have a superstar. They have a fan. They finally have
yeah,
a fan base that will rally around him. So I
yeah.
do think the ceiling is high for the Raptors, but only if Kawhi Leonard stays healthy, and that's too much to ask
Well, of
for him right
course.
now.
Of course, everything depends on his health, like it does with Joel Embiid's health, and a ton of other superstars who just haven't played enough games lately. But I think with the Giannis thing, it's interesting because Giannis, yeah, I agree. I think Giannis at this point is a better basketball player than Kawhi Leonard. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. But I think the fit with Kawhi is better, just because you have a Scotty Barnes who's sort of like a Giannis, right? He likes to get downhill. Scotty Barnes doesn't love to shoot the three ball and doesn't shoot a high percentage. So you have two guys on the court who sort of want to do the same thing. I think Kawhi does serve as a better fit. Again, he hasn't been healthy. Giannis is a little bit younger, so I don't know why they couldn't get a deal done with the Bucks in terms of getting Giannis, but at the end of the day, I think it gives the Raptors a chance to compete, and that's all you can ask for, especially in the Eastern Conference that's been relatively wide open, and you just don't know what the Celtics are going to look like. The Knicks are obviously going to they're probably going to have to make some changes at some point. The Cavs are not, depending on where LeBron goes, which we'll get to in a second. Um, the Eastern Conference is relatively wide open. So the Raptors definitely have a shot now to come out of the East. Before we get to LeBron, I want to talk about John Morant. Uh, there's a couple times you look at a trade and you think to yourself, man, like there's just it doesn't make any sense, right? The compensation doesn't make sense. The fit doesn't make sense. With John Morant in this deal, when I looked at it, uh, I think people forget who he is when he's healthy and when he's playing because they only all that the Blazers gave up to get him was Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray. So I don't know if you felt the same way about it, but for me at least, yeah, I understand the baggage that comes with John Morant. Yeah, I understand he hasn't been healthy. Yeah, I understand there's off the court shenanigans you got to deal with. But when he's on the court, he's been a great basketball player. And you're talking about a guy who's young. You can if you get veteran leadership around him like a Drew Holiday, which he has in Portland, maybe they can shape him and I don't know, carve him into being someone who can be a leader on a championship team. So don't you think the Grizzlies sold a little too low on John Morant at this point in his career? Or did you think it was the right thing to do? Because they didn't even get a pick. They didn't get a single pick for Ja. So what were your thoughts on the deal? Were you not surprised that that's all they got for John Morant?
I was just like you said it best, George. I was very surprised with what the Blazers had to give up to go get him. I mean, two players, that's it. And they're not, and
Not even
Jeremy
Grant
Grant is,
Woods.
and they're not even great players. Jeremy Grant is good, but he's not a great player. He's very old. And Chris Murray, yes, he is young, but he's not a guy who plays a lot. And and you're getting John Moran, who's proven that he's a really great point guard when healthy and avoids off the field, off the court issues. And now you have one of the most dangerous backcourts in all of the NBA, in Damian Lillard and John Morant. And the Blazers, I think, are going to be a dangerous team with John Morant now. I mean, just look what John Morant did back on the Grizzlies. He revitalized that Grizzly team that was in rebuild mode. They drafted the guy, and the Grizzlies went started to play much better with him. I mean, took them to the playoffs. They were the number two seed in the 2023 playoffs before they lost to the Lakers in the first round. They had great players. They had a great nucleus around Jared Jackson, um, Jonas Valanciunas. Like they had great players around them, and John Moran was the star in that team, and he played really well when he was healthy and when he didn't have any problems off the court. So this is the problem. He diminished his value so much for not staying healthy and for the off-court issues for the last 2 years. But and that's why I think the Grizzlies couldn't get much in the deal because teams knew that how much they were risking for a guy who can't stay healthy and has a lot of problems off the court. So that's why they couldn't get that much in the deal. But I have to give credit to the Blazers. You didn't give up much to get a point guard who is a
Yeah.
superstar when healthy and off and doesn't have any problems off the court. So
Yeah.
lots of props to the Blazers for this deal. I mean, now you have one of the best
Yeah.
backcourts in the NBA, and John Morant and Damian Lillard. That's going to be a dangerous backcourt.
The Blazers 100% made the right trade here. I agree completely. Jeremy Grant's 32. Is he a good basketball player right now? Yeah, but he's not great. He doesn't change your franchise. And again, Chris Murray is not even the better of the Murray brothers. Keegan Murray is better than Chris Murray. So you're not even getting the better brother. So like I just don't understand how the Grizzlies are making this deal and why sell low? Like why are you selling low on John Moran? Why not go into next season, hope that the off the court shenanigans stop and he stays healthy, and wait till the trade deadline, right? Get him averaging 25 a game. Get him playing pretty well. Get his value back up because this is the lowest value you could have gotten for John Morant, the lowest possible value, and you traded him. That is, in my opinion, malpractice as a general manager. You didn't put the franchise in a better spot. Jeremy Grant's going to be there for who knows how long. I don't even know how long his contract is, but he's not a long-term piece, and you're rebuilding. And then Chris Murray, yeah, okay, he's a young guy, but he's not generational. He's not changing your franchise for a guy like a superstar like John Morant. So I'm very, very shocked if the Grizzlies, if the ownership saw the trade and thought this was a good idea. Because unless there's something in the background that's happening, I don't understand why you would make this deal right now. His value is too low. You don't get enough back, and you just drafted Boozer with the third overall pick. Why not have John Morant play with Boozer? Again, like I don't understand. Boozer's a big. Now John has a big to play with. You just got rid of Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, wait, just be patient. Let it ride out. Play another season with John, see what happens. But why would you trade him right now?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, John Moran, if you talked about John Moran 2 years ago, he would have at least been
Three
worth
first.
three first round picks. Now you just get two players for him. the- it's just amazing how much his value has diminished. And look, you have to remember what he did with the Grizzlies before all this happened. He did a lot with a Grizzlies team that, in my opinion, was in rebuild mode and a team that honestly wasn't that perfectly great. I mean, John Morant is a really, really good player. And it's incredible that the Blazers just had to give up two players just to get him. And now, like, I don't understand why the Grizzlies were desperate to get rid of him. I understand he had his problems, but why? You said it best. Why not give him another season with Cameron Boozer? You could have lifted his value so much. Because I can promise you right now, John Moran and Cameron Boozer would have been a great duo, and I think they would have gelled really well. and now it's not going to happen, and his value didn't increase. So the Grizzlies made a huge mistake giving up on him too early, and the Blazers have to are big winners here because now they have one of the most dangerous backcourts in all the NBA.
Yeah, and it's crazy. If you look back at it, the Grizzlies back in 22-23. Obviously you're saying that's what, 3 seasons ago now. They were literally the 2 seed in the Western Conference, 2 games behind the Nuggets, who finished number one. And they had the best point differential in the entire Western Conference at 3.9 points per game. They were plus 3.9. Like, I don't understand why you would do it right now. It makes no sense. And the only reason that they lost in the first round is because they played Golden State, and Golden State was more experienced, and Memphis had been their first time in the playoffs. It was literally their first time getting back to the playoffs and having a new squad. So the inexperience got to them. But I just don't understand. Again, I'm never gonna understand this deal. And if this works out for the Blazers, this will go down as one of the worst trades ever because they gave up nothing. They gave up no draft capital. They gave up none of their future. Jeremy Grant wasn't part of their long-term plan. Chris Murray was someone that's probably going to stash on the bench and maybe get a couple minutes a game. I, Again, this is a major letdown from the Grizzlies. And if I was a Grizzlies fan, I'd be extremely disappointed. Yeah, I understand you're frustrated with John Morant and everything he's done, and the last couple of years have not been a success. But this was not the way to go. And especially if you're going to trade him, I understand not now. This is not the time to get enough value for John Morant. So I think it's a huge mistake, and it's going to cost them. I really believe that. Moving on, LeBron James, the king. He's what? Been the face of the league for 20 plus years now. He's going to enter his 24th season. Where do you think he ends up going? Because obviously now he told the Lakers, listen, you can move on without me. I'm not coming back to LA. It's funny, I will say this. Bronny had his contract guaranteed the day before. Then the next day, LeBron comes out and says, I'm leaving. So listen, I respect LeBron for getting his son all set up before leaving. I respect to get him his bread before leaving. But look, there's a couple people I've heard. Reports have said the Cavs are interested. The Heat. Um, People have floated around the idea of the Spurs. The Warriors are a possible favorite to get him. Who do you think LeBron ends up going to? And I don't know if it's going to be the same answer for both because there's a couple different fits. But what do you think the best fit is at this point? Because again, he's saying that he's prioritizing his happiness, not money, nothing like that. It's just simply where can I win a championship and where can I be happy? Who gives him the best chance of doing that?
I honestly think the best fit for him is the Cavaliers. I mean, they just are coming off going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They have a great team. They have Donovan Mitchell. They have Jared Allen. I think they're one piece away from contending for a championship, and I think LeBron could be that piece because we saw that in the Eastern Conference Finals. Leadership was missing. They blew that 22-point lead in the fourth quarter, and I can promise you right now, if LeBron was on that team when that happened, he would have rallied the team and they would have never blown that bleed against the Knicks.
Yeah,
I can promise you that right now because that's what the Cavs need. They need leadership, and LeBron
yeah,
brings that. So I honestly think the best fit for him is to go back home to Cleveland and for one last ride with them, try to win one last championship for the city of Cleveland. So honestly, the
yeah,
best fit is Cleveland. Just just because I think they also need a guy who's very tall, physical, can set the pace, take off the load a little bit on Donovan Mitchell because sometimes I think the moment can get to him, and LeBron always the moment he's always ready for the moment, especially in the playoffs. So I honestly think the Cavaliers makes most sense because they need a veteran guy who can help Donovan Mitchell and carry the load sometimes when Donovan Mitchell isn't at his best. But I do think at the end of the day, I think he's gonna go to the Warriors because the friendship is everything in this league. I mean, he's best friends with Draymond Green. He's really good friends with Steph Curry. I saw yesterday that and then when they were talking about free agency, when LeBron was assembling the Olympic squad for the Paris Olympics, the first guy he called was Steph Curry because that's how much of a friend he is with Steph Curry. And I do think LeBron is at the end of his career. He knows that,
yeah,
and I do think at the end of the day, if he knows what the chemistry he has with Steph Curry could actually help him go win another championship, which is the one thing he wants to do before he retires.
yeah.
So I do think the best fit is the Cavaliers, but at the end of the day, I think he's gonna go to the Warriors just because of the friendships he has with Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and he knows how much. he's talked about how much he's wanted to play with Steph Curry. So,
Yeah.
and he has a lot of chemistry with him. So, honestly, I think he's gonna go to the Warriors just because he wants to play with Steph Curry so much, and he knows he has good. Both of them have good chemistry.
Yeah, no. I mean, before I get into that, I just want to say two things. Shams reported. He said Celtics have started strongly shopping Jaylen Brown to 8 to 10 teams in the league. So I think Jaylen Brown deal will get done at some point. And Nikola
Okay.
Vucevic will be going home. He will be going back to Magic, back to the Orlando Magic on a 1 year deal. I'm assuming to end his career. Good for him, right? Finish where you were, kind of start. Played much of your prime. But going back to the LeBron thing, I think you're right. I think the Warriors is probably a likely spot. I think Cleveland is what I want to see. It's so storybook. He's Cleveland's hero. That's where he's from. He won a championship there. I think Cleveland would make sense. I think Cleveland is a piece away from winning a championship. And I do believe that I think Cleveland becomes a team who can compete in the Eastern Conference to win a title. So I do agree. I think Cleveland would be a nice fit. Now, look, I don't want to sound crazy for saying this, but I'm going to make the pitch anyways. LeBron James, if you're watching Keene Sports, you want to build a
Hopefully.
legacy. Hopefully. If you want to build a legacy, if you want to define your career, the Knicks already won a championship. They ended their long drought. You know who also has a long drought? The Philadelphia 76ers.
Uh,
LeBron James. LeBron James. Consider it. Consider it. You like Tyrese Maxey. You like Joel Embiid. We got VJ Edgecombe. We got Paul George. We need that small forward. We need that guy. We need that guy. We need you, LeBron. So come over. Come here. End this drought. End your career with a championship. We're missing that guy. We've been close. We've been knocking on the door. We're in the playoffs consistently. Come win a championship here. We have a squad. We have a good roster. Take a little bit less money because we can't give you a max contract. We can't give you a ton of money, but come play with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. That's my pitch. Come play in Philadelphia. Come have a chance to win a championship. Just as good as anybody else in the East. We just got to stay healthy. And with LeBron James, we have a leader. We have someone who's experienced. We have someone who's been out of the second round, which we don't have on our roster. Maybe I guess Dean Wade because he went with Cleveland. But we need a superstar. We need a star. We need LeBron James. Fernando, is that too much to ask?
it is. You're asking too much on the Sixers. I mean, also you're asking LeBron James to go from the West Coast to the East Coast. That is a long move for a guy who's for 1 year. I mean, you're asking too much for him to go to the Sixers, and then also you're asking too much on Joel Embiid to stay healthy, which we haven't seen in a long, long time. Paul George, he's not that same player as he used to be. BJ Edgecombe, he's a baller. He's a great player. And Tyrese Maxey, he is a perennial superstar. But you're asking too much um, on the Sixers. I mean, there's a lot of things that LeBron. You have to really, really convince LeBron to go to the Sixers. For me, it's just like LeBron is a family man. I've said this last time. I don't see him moving his family from the West Coast to the East Coast. I That's why I even think the Warriors are probably going to be the team that get him because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, he stays in the West Coast. He doesn't move his family that far, and he can go compete for a championship. So it makes for me, it just makes all the sense in the world for him to go to the Warriors. I understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from. I really do. I really do, but it just doesn't make sense for him to go to the Sixers.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. And it's disappointing. And LeBron, listen, I don't know if this is going to help you at all, but listen, if you decide to come to Philadelphia, I'll take you to some nice, good Italian dining in South Philly. And that's my offer. That's my offer. If you come to Philly, I got you. I'll take you out to dinner. I'll even pay for it. I don't got the money like that, but I got you. I will cover your dinner. All
I'll
right.
say this
But yeah,
I'll say this
go
last
ahead.
thing. I think the Lakers did the right thing to move on from him,
Yeah,
and I think this was a
I
good
agree.
thing for both sides
I
because
agree.
LeBron wants
Yeah.
to go compete for a championship. The Lakers want
Yep.
to rebuild around Luca, so it just makes
Yep.
perfect sense for both sides to do that. And I do think
Yeah.
the Lakers
Yeah.
now have much more flexibility to build around Luca now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was the right time for both sides. I completely agree with that take. We got 5 minutes left, real quick. We'll do Wimbledon, then we'll talk our final trivia question of the day. Fernando, real quick, Djokovic got out of his first round matchup. Sinner's taking care of business here in the second round. Looks like he'll be advanced. I want to get your thoughts on Serena Williams. Obviously, returned did not go as she wanted. She lost the first set against Maya Joy, a 20-year-old who had lost 11 straight competitive matches. Then she won the second set, but then ran out of gas in the third set after getting an early break. What were your thoughts on her return? And now apparently she has a knee injury, so she might not even play doubles. So what were your thoughts on her return?
I thought it went better than I expected. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
she took her opponent to 3 sets, and
yeah.
honestly, the only reason she lost is because she ran out of gas, and it was. And then
That
we
makes
mentioned
sense.
and you mentioned it, and then you mentioned it before.
Yeah,
The knee injury could have been a factor. I mean, she
yeah,
played well.
yeah,
She in the tiebreaker. She came through in the clutch moment. She
yeah,
won when it mattered most. Took her to 3 sets, and I mean, she could have easily won that match, but
yeah,
it could have been conditioning. It could have been the knee injury,
for
but
sure,
she
for
ran out of
sure.
gas, and it's understandable. She
Yeah,
hadn't played a singles match in 4 years, so it's very understandable why that happened. And
yeah,
but the fact that you took your opponent to 3 sets and had a chance to win the match is very impressive for someone who
yeah,
hadn't played a professional tennis match in 4 years. So she might have lost, yes, but I think her return was a success in the end. And I hope she
yeah.
gets I hope she recovers from the knee injury and it's nothing serious because I really do hope we can see her at the US Open.
Yeah, I think that was her goal to play singles at the U.S. Open. Then she got the wild card at Wimbledon and sped up her timeline, which is, look, I don't know if that was the right decision at this point to rush your body into getting into shape to play singles because you risk a chance of injury not being in competitive shape. Look, my joint's not exactly a great professional player. Lost 11 straight matches before beating Serena Williams. But look, I think her strokes are still there, right? She still has a ton of power. Serena Williams is never going to lose the power. But look, she was slow. She didn't move laterally well. You could tell very quickly, like getting up to the net was difficult. And I think for her, maybe getting on the court more will be helpful for her. She hasn't played much singles, so hopefully, that will, this will give her a good baseline to start building. And if she wants to play in the U.S. Open, which I assume she will, in August. Time for the trivia question of the day. Fernando, that's your mistake. You are 1-2 all time on the trivia question of the day instead of 2-1. But you have a chance to get to 500 today, and I think you have a chance. I think you have a chance. It's a little bit harder this time. It's a
All right,
World
let's
Cup
do it.
trivia question because we're still in the World Cup, and I'm still in the World Cup fever.
All right.
Here we go. Who is the youngest scorer to score in a match in World Cup history at just 17 years old and 239 days?
LA.
Ding, 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 ding. There we go. There we go. There you go, Fernando. Back at the 500 mark. Man, how'd you know that so quickly?
Because I mean, I remember because of Gilberto Mora, they talked about how they've compared him a lot with the records that Pele's done, starting in being one of the youngest to start in the knockout stage game
There you
in the group
go.
stage match. So they talked about him a lot of Pele when they were talking about Gilberto Mora, and if Gilberto Mora had scored yesterday, he would have become the youngest player to ever score in a World Cup. So, and I mean,
There you go.
Pele, I mean, we didn't get to watch him, but he was one of the greatest to ever play the
Yeah,
sport. So you
for
can
sure.
never forget about the guy.
For sure, for sure. Look at that. Being a Mexican fan helped you get this trivia question right. I need to start watching more Mexico soccer. All these trivia facts, I probably wouldn't have gotten them if someone had asked me. So
Yeah.
listen, 500. That's all you can ask for. So next time you get above the mark. But listen, I appreciate you for joining me. Listen, everyone watching, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram. Um, trying to post content more consistently. Fernando, I appreciate you joining me. We'll have you back. Enjoy the World Cup. Uh, listen, a lot of good games today. Root for Portugal, please. Be a
Mm.
Portugal fan for tomorrow. Come on, is that too much to ask for?
I mean, I mean, I do like Croatia.
Ah,
I
no,
do
that's
like
the wrong thing to
Croatia.
say.
I mean, I like Modric. He's a good guy. I mean, you
I
have to root
like
for
him
the
too.
guy. You have to root for the guy. And the only reason I would root for Portugal is because I would not hate the idea of seeing a Portugal Spain round 16 match. I
I
think that would
agree.
be
I think that'd be great.
that'd be a fantastic game.
Yeah, I think that would be a fantastic game. I'm hoping Austria wins though, so we don't have to worry about that. But let's beat Croatia first before I get my hopes up. All right, guys, it was appreciate you joining. We'll be back on Keen on Sports very very soon. Fernando, have a good one, and yeah, we'll see you all next time.